Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. How are you guys? I hope you're having a really good day. This is your first time on my channel. My name is Sebastian and I welcome you guys with open arms. So today you guys, I'm posting a whole bunch of videos about pretty much everything, but I think we needed a little bit of a palate cleanser. There's been a lot of drama lately, so I was like, okay, let me do like a fun story time just to sort of like have a snack with, maybe like put the drama on pause at least for an hour and just sort of like hang out with you guys. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if that's something that you're interested in. You know, of course, it's all about tea here, but sometimes we can grab some snacks and just share some story time. So my snack of the day is these Siete vegan grain-free tortilla chips, dairy-free Chipotle barbecue made with 100% avocado oil. You cannot get more LA than this. So they're pretty good. They look like this, and my nose is horrible, but and this Diet Dr. Pepper. What are you having? Let me know in the comments. So I was watching Sex in the City, and I noticed that, you know, I noticed in the beginning of her relationship with Mr. Big how uncomfortable she felt sometimes because he had, you know, so much money. He was, you know, like kind of a grown-up. He had his shit together, his life together, and she was a bit of a mess. Well, they're actually pretty good. It reminded me so much of when this boyfriend I had in Denmark. One night, a girlfriend and I were out partying, and we were on our way home. It was like 2 a.m. and we were going into a 7-Eleven and to get like some food, I guess. And there was a club that was sort of opened, but it wasn't like a club that we've been to before. So we're like, should we go in this club? And, you know, we didn't want to end the night, basically. So we said, okay, let's just go in the club. Before we went in, there's this group of people who were coming out. And it was one of the guy that I told you I was dating. So it was a group of people, and I turned to my girlfriend, and I was like, oh my God, that guy's so cute. And she was like, actually, he really is. So I go up to him and I say, hey, do you have a lighter? Because I used to smoke cigarettes, Marlboro Lights. I've been cigarette free this December 31st for 2 years. It's crazy. But I mean, I was more like a social drinking, you know, girl. There was nothing like a cocktail and a cigarette in one hand, bitch. Okay. So go up to him and I was like, do you have a cigarette or a lighter? One of those two. I remember I'm in Denmark. So he's like, where are you from? So I tell him, you know, I'm from Miami. I have my girlfriend, you know, this and that. So I go and like I stand next to him, and my girlfriend, she's over there like all alone, and I'm like, come here. So he introduced me to his friends, and right off the bat, the girl that he was with, like we did not click. But we sort of like spoke for a little bit, and then I gave him my number. Honestly, not thinking much of it. He was really cute though. So anyways, I go home, and I don't hear from him that night. Well, obviously, it was like 3 a.m. So I don't hear anything from that night. The next day, around lunchtime, I mean, you know, I woke up with a hangover, felt like shit, you know, my girlfriend was dying too, so, oh girl, we would go and we would get these, fast, doesn't it feel like we're hanging out? I love it, I wish actually we were, but we are. We would get these snacks, and it was like, not snacks, focus, bitch. They were like, over there, durum and kebab and falafel is very big. It's like a very common food. And I would get a falafel pizza. So basically it was a cheese pizza with falafel on top, lettuce, tomatoes, and then it's like their ranch, but it's so good. And then a side of french fries. So I knew I wasn't going nowhere, so I could eat, right? So we're there, and we were like eating and eating and eating. And then, oh, by the way, my girlfriend and I lived in a 1-bedroom, right? So we would sort of split the room. Like she would sleep one week in the room, I would sleep one week in the room, and then we would alternate. And I got a message in the afternoon, and it was him. I was like, oh my God. So I was like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, like this and that, blah, blah, blah. I was super excited. And he asked me to see me that night. But bitch, I just had like a large pizza to myself, a whole ton of fries, and I was bloated AF. I just wanted to, stay home, watch The Hills or The Cheetah Girls or Gossip Girl, whatever I was watching at the time, and just, not move. So we text message all that day, and he had a good English, but I could tell that he didn't reply like too much. Like he would reply everything. We would have a conversation, but it wasn't like, too much. But I was writing to him in Danish. Like I could do if I wanted to. So I asked him and he said, no, English is fine. So we made a plan to go the next day to his house, and I asked him if my girlfriend can come. So he's like, yeah, sure, bring her. Actually, he said to bring her. So we go over there. We walk because we don't have money for a taxi. We go outside the building. It was in a neighborhood called Kongs Nuto, which is like King's Street. So it's super bougie. And we see this building, bitch, and we're like, oh shit. Like, we're like, oh my God. We're like, oh my God, this is huge. This is big. This is huge, whatever. So then we're like, oh my God, okay, girl, let's act normal, right? So we go upstairs, and I mean, it's a beautiful building. He opens the door. I remember he was wearing these jeans, a black shirt like with collar, and he welcomed us to his house, and her and I were just like, oh my God, oh my, like we were like, but I didn't want to like seem too like, you know what I mean? Like I wanted to seem like, okay, cool, but like I didn't want it to seem like that was what I was noticing. So that night, my girlfriend, him and I, we just drank a lot that night. We had a really, really fun time. I remember she was sitting in, like on the floor in front of his chimney, and I was sitting with him on the couch. And we were like, smoking cigarettes and like drinking and listening to music. And he really liked J-Lo. It was his favorite singer. So we just sort of connected. He was about like, I want to say like 10 years older than me. I was probably like 21, I want to say. And he was probably like 31 or 30. And, we were in a very different like times of our lives. So it was like super, like it wasn't that bad because like he was still kind of young at heart, but you could definitely tell a difference. So that night was pretty cool. Girlfriend and I go home, and then he starts picking me up from work. I used to work at the airport at this time. So he used to pick me up, and he had a thing which was super weird, but he had a thing where he loved for me to put my hand in his pocket. Like when he drove. So we started dating, this and that, and I'm not gonna lie, I got head over heels for him. I felt very much like Carrie and Big, in the sense that I was such a mess. He had everything together. He was financially stable. He was serious. He, you know, he was very, very kind, and I thought he was a very serious person. So, anyways, Brittany announces that she's going on tour. She doesn't announce Denmark yet. She only announces the UK. So him and I see it, and it was like 8 months from that time. So he says, why don't we go? It's on me and my treat. And what I loved the most was that it was 8 months. You know, it was like he was seeing a future with me, right? So I was like, oh my God, Brittany and like a man, cool. So at this point, it's been like 2-3 weeks. We have not had sex because I'm kind of a Charlotte, if you guys don't know what that means. I'm just very like kind of I'll like make out and, you know, maybe do a handy, but after that, I'm like, I wait a while. You know what I mean? Like, it has to be for me. Like, I don't judge anybody who does it the first night. Like, do you? Like, I wish I could be like that, like more free, but it takes me a while. So he always kind of, and I don't want to say pressured. He never really pressured. He was patiently annoyed, if that makes any sense. So in my head, you know, this guy is perfect, right? He's perfect. Oh my God, how cute are you? Look at this. Look at that. Isn't he the cutest? Jax, what are you doing? Jax, what are you doing? So weird. In my head, you know, he's perfect, right? So I wanted to sort of be perfect too. So I hardly ever like, I couldn't really be myself too much with him. Like I couldn't, you know, let's say we ordered food, I would always leave a little bit, you know, when I just wanted to fucking starve, you know, shove that shit down my throat. Things like that. And I didn't have money, right? I was working, but it only allowed me to pay my bills. And I saw myself starting to lie and starting to make a life that was not mine. And, you know, he would invite me to everything, but I would, you know, he had this vision in my head that my family was, you know, wealthy or whatever. Like, I remember I was watching Gossip Girl at the time, so I sort of took parts of, I was Jenny basically, like pretending I was like, you know, whatever. So I wanted him to like think that I was, you know, and this is the young me thinking, you know, like now I'm thinking I'm like so stupid, I should have just been myself. But, you know, I didn't tell him anything like, oh, I'm so rich, but I did tell him like, you know, my family has a house here and we're this and we're that and our last name and blah, 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 like stupid bullshit. So at this time, he has not seen my apartment. So, you remember that girlfriend I told you about that her and I just did not click? One time, like one night, he writes to me and says, hey, why don't we go meet at your place instead of always coming to my place? And I'm like, and, you know, this is one of the things that I wish I was not, and I was embarrassed, you know, he had a palace, basically, and, you know, I look back and I'm like, Sebastian, you're so stupid. You should have been grateful. But, you know, we're young and we're dumb. So I was like, yeah, you can come. But, you know, I don't know what I said. But I'm like, yeah, you can come. It's just, we're going to have some boxes soon because we're moving. I don't know what I said. Something so stupid. I said something so dumb. And he came with her. So he came with her, and I remember that she just looked around and was like, okay, is this it? So I remember saying something like, oh, you know, it's my friend's mom's apartment and we're staying here until our apartment is ready, like some stupid lie. And I'm like, just like, Sebastian, damn, like I wish you would have just been yourself, you know? But I look back at this and I'm like, you know what? it's all about growing up. Like, at least I'm not doing that shit now, right? So she was like, oh, good, because this place is a dump. Like, I just remember her, like, being so rude. And he would laugh, and he wouldn't, like, but he wouldn't, like, defend me. And then he said, like, actually, you know what, let's just go to my place, he said. And I felt like shit, of course. Well, anyways, she had, like, this kind of cabin in the woods. So she went with her boyfriend, and she invited us to go with her and him. And, like, her and I would get sort of along whenever we would drink, but besides that, it would just be very, like, she wasn't ever mean, but we were just never, like, that, you know, friendly, I guess. So, whatchamacallit, we go to the cabin, and remember, I'm still not eating a lot in front of him. I'm obviously not doing number two in front of him. Like, you know, you know, I'm trying to be as perfect as possible. I'm trying to be like this image that just was not me. So we're in this cabin. They bring food. I obviously say no. I want to only drink. And we you know, we party all night, blah, blah, blah. And I know him and I were making out. I remember him and I very, very well. We were in a room, and he called my mom, and he told her that he loved me and that he wanted her to come out to the city where we were at, because he wanted to meet her and he wanted to take things to the next level. So when he said that, I was like, you know, I was like, this is it. Like, I'm marrying him. I am Carrie Bradshaw. Like, you know, this is it for me, right? So I was like, damn, like, this is amazing. My mom went on the phone. She was so happy, blah, blah, blah. That night, he definitely tried to have sex, like, big time. And I was just honestly not, like, down. You know what I mean? I just did not, I didn't feel like it. Plus, we were in a cabin, and they were so close to us, and it just didn't feel right. He did get a little mad. But anyways, so the funny part about this is that they bought these crackers that were supposed to be, I guess, for breakfast. I did not know. So I woke up around 3 a.m. My stomach was hurting so much because I was so hungry, you guys. So 3 a.m. and I go and I find these crackers, and I just fucking eat them all. And I mean, it's a pack like this. So I'm just scarfing down these fucking crackers. The next morning rolls around, and they're looking for the crackers because they were part of a dish that I had no idea. They're like, but I know we bought them. Like, where are they? Like, did anyone eat them? If you ate them, like, just say it. And Sebastian, did you eat them? I'm like, no, I don't even like crackers. So, you know, like, all these things. And that was a very awkward moment because obviously they knew it was me. And I hid the wrapping in, like, one of my shoes. I don't know what I did. But anyways, so he's acting a little bit weird with me. He's acting super weird with me, actually. And we go home to his place, and we order this humongous burger, and I eat half of it, and then he goes to bed, and I have to do number two. And I've never done number two at his place. We would have a bunch of sleepovers, but I've never done number two. And I was like, fuck, what do I do? So I waited for him to go to sleep, and then I did number two, right? Anyways, okay. So I did number two. And then after that, the next day, I go about my day, I go to work, this and that, and I start noticing that he usually always, like, wrote me in the morning, and he always used to say, like, you know, I'm thinking about you, I miss you, this and that, and, like, I was watching Sex and the City a lot also with Gossip Girl, and I was always kind of like, you know, what would Carrie Bradshaw do? You know, what would she do at this, you know? So I started seeing that his messages would get smaller and smaller. He wouldn't really pick me up anymore from work, and he would cancel, you know, a couple times. So he started ghosting me, which now I know what ghosted means. And in my Facebook, I had in a relationship, and after a week of him kind of ghosting me, I, you know, wrote to him, and I was like, I don't know what's going on, but this seems really weird and really awkward, and I don't like it. Like, what is happening? I don't get a response. And I'm like, okay, just, you know, I'm gonna act normal, like, whatever. I'm telling everyone around me what is going on, what they think, coworkers, my boss, you know, passengers, my friends, like, anyone who would listen, I would ask what they thought about the situation. So one day, he actually told me that he was always the one who would make like the grand gestures. I guess we were watching like Bridget Jones or something. And I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Like, I've never done a grand gesture. And he's like, I have always done the grand gestures, and nobody's ever done a grand gesture to me. So after like 2 weeks, I spoke to him a couple times. He would reassure me everything was good. He was just super busy at work, blah, blah, blah. And then one night, I'm watching Bridget Jones, and I think I've actually said this part in a story time before, but I never really went into details about this. So I was watching Bridget Jones, and I'm in the living room. I run to my girlfriend's room, and I was like, oh my God, I need to do a grand gesture. Like, I need to do a grand gesture. I need to go to his place, and I need to do a grand gesture. So she was like, what do you want to do? And I'm like, I'm going to bring a laptop, and I'm going to play his favorite song, which was like a J-Lo song. I'm going to play it, and he's going to hear it, and then we're going to get, together again. And she's like, she was super supportive, and she actually came with me. So we're running around town, literally, like, in, literally, like, Bridget Jones, like, running. I probably even think it was raining or snowing. So we go to his building, and I text him, and I'm like, hey, I'm downstairs. And then I start throwing like little rocks. I'm like, this is literally a grand gesture. So she's standing over here with the computer and the music. And I really did appreciate her doing that for me. So he says, like, you're where? You're downstairs? And I was like, yeah, I'm downstairs, like this and that. And I kept throwing rocks, and then I guess I was throwing the rocks at his neighbor, because his neighbor came out. I'm like, oh. So I'm like there, and we're like, doing oh no, actually, it was not it was a Selena song. It was Dreaming of You. So we're there with the thing, and he writes him, he says, Sebastian, if you don't leave, I'm calling the police. This is harassment. You need to leave. Before he said that, I saw that his lights turned on, and I told my girlfriend, I said, girl, you can go home. He's gonna come downstairs and open the door. We'll invite you for breakfast, bitch. Don't worry, breakfast is on us. I'm just gonna go and be with my man right now, and we're gonna, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, let's do brunch tomorrow. Yeah, and she's like, are you sure I should leave? I'm like, girl, yes. Girl, do you want to be here when I get deflowered by him? You know what I mean? Anyways, then he sends me that text message and says, this is harassment, this and that. And I'm like, oh. And I wrote to him, I'm like, wait, are you kidding me? You always said you wanted a grand gesture. This is the grand gesture. Like, hello? And like now I can tell, like, okay, Sebastian, that's a lot. But, so anyways, I go home and I'm super fucking sad. And I send him his stuff by mail, because he literally he would hardly ever reply. And one night, I remember so vividly coming home from work. My girlfriend is not home, and I sit in my computer and I see that he's online on Facebook, and it's like 12 a.m. and I just remember like saying, you know what, Sebastian, I think maybe had you been more honest with him, had you been more of yourself with him, maybe he saw through your bullshit. You know what I mean? Maybe he saw that you were pretending to be someone you're not. And, one thing that he made very clear in the very beginning is that he didn't like liars. So I remember writing him, and I'm like, hi, you want to know the real me? This is the real me. And I gave it to him straight, right? I gave him to him straight. And I said, I'm sorry that me going to your house came off as harassment. I just wanted to do a grand gesture. I said, I lied about this. I lied about that. I only lied to make myself look better in your eyes. I'm not blaming this on you, of course, but whatever. So anyways, don't hear back from him. Remember that Britney concert I told you about, bitch? Okay. So I'm in the airport doing my thing, and I'm working in a private lounge. And one morning I'm there, and I'm just like waiting for people to come in and blah, blah, blah. And I knew it was around the time that Britney was gonna perform. I turn around, and in walks my ex, with that guy, with his ex-boyfriend, the guy before me, okay? And they were going to the UK to watch Brittany, the same ticket he bought for me, okay? My job was to go over to the guests and basically make sure they were okay. So I see him, I see the ex, I see the guy he's with, and I run to the kitchen. And I remember I called my mom in a panic, and she goes, Sebastian, you're gonna walk out there with your head held up high, and that's it. I remember I talked to my coworker as well, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to do. She goes, just go, just go. So I go over there and I walk towards them, and I'm just like shaking. And I'm like, hi, how are you? And he looks at me dead shocked in his eyes and just says, hi. Oh, hi. Yeah, I'm like, where are you guys headed to? The UK? Oh, to watch the Britney concert? Oh, that's amazing. Hi, I'm Sebastian. Nice to meet you. And then the guy's like, hello. He doesn't even reach his hand out. He goes, hello. And then he stands up and he gives me a hug, and he's like, it's so nice seeing you. You look great. And I'm like, thank you so much. All right, well, gotta go. I go inside and I start crying like a baby, but he didn't see me cry. So my coworker was so sweet. She said, you know what? Just stay in the back and I'll let you know when he leaves. He asked for me before he went to catch his flight. She said that I was on break. He asked where my break room was, and she said that passengers are not allowed. And I was like, whatever. So, anyways, a couple months roll around and I'm at a club, and I'm with a girlfriend, and we're like, partying and this and that. And then I just remember seeing him from across the room at the club, and I was like, what is happening here? And I get super, super nervous. I get super stressed out, and I like literally run out of the club, and he follows me he follows me, and he says, where are you going? And I'm like, I can't be here right now. And it's almost been like a year, bitch. I can't be here right now. Like I just, when I saw you, I can't do it. And I started crying. I was obviously drunk too. And he's like, no, listen, don't cry. Let's have a cigarette together. And I'm like, I don't smoke anymore. I quit 2 months ago. And he's like, just have a cigarette. I'm like, okay. So we sit on the sidewalk, like in the street, and I'm like literally shaking because for a very long time, you guys, I was so hurt. I was so in love with this guy, and I really thought that I was going to end up with him. And being broken up without really like any excuses or any reason, and I tired out my brain thinking of why he was not responding. You know what I mean? So it was so long, it was so much thinking, it was every single day for this year, and I was just so overwhelmed, and I never really run into him except the airport, which was such a hit as well. And I actually was seeing somebody at this time, and he asked me like, are you seeing someone? And I was like, I am. And he said, is it serious? And I was like, I don't know. And he's like, I have to confess something to you. And I said, what? And he said, that gesture you made was the most romantic thing I've ever witnessed, but I wasn't alone when you went. And I was like, was your ex there? And he said, yes. So I started crying again because he made me feel really, really bad. He made me feel so like a horrible person for going and harassing or whatever. And he said, Sebastian, I miss you. I miss you. I want to, I would love to talk to you. I would love to, get with you, like just hang out and stuff. And I was like, I said, what do you want from me? I said, it's almost been a year. Like, why are you doing this again to me? I remember we crossed the street to go pee in like the woods, and he's peeing and I'm peeing, and I'm like, why are you doing this to me? Like, I don't understand what you get out of this. And I remember he said like, I just really miss you, and I've really, really missed you. Like, he kept saying he missed me, and I was like, well, I miss you too, but I can't get hurt again. Like, this is too much for me. And he was like, break up with your boyfriend and come home with me. And I was like, I don't think you're gonna remember this tomorrow, or I don't think you're gonna mean this tomorrow. And he goes, I'm gonna mean this tomorrow, and I'm gonna write to you very early tomorrow morning. So I was like, okay. So I went home that night without him, but I remember telling my girlfriend, I said, look, I really like the guy I'm seeing right now, but if he writes to me tomorrow, I'm gonna dump him and I'm gonna go with him because I really do believe we're meant to be. So he writes me in the morning and he says, are you alone? And I said, no. Oh no, I said yes. And he's like, okay. He sends me a dick pic. He sends me a fucking dick pic. And I was so turned off, you guys, because we'd just spoken about so much serious stuff, and then you want to go ahead and send me a picture of your dick. I'm like, I am well aware of what it looks like, okay, which, you know, hats off, right? But that's not what I wanted. I wanted like a good morning. I'm so grateful that we saw each other last night. Like, let's meet up, you know what I mean? Let me take you to brunch. Let's walk in the park. Let's anything but your damn fucking dick, right? And at that moment, I said, you know what? This is what I'm not anything important to him. And I write to him and I'm like, thank you so much. Because he said thinking of you or something. I'm like, thank you so much for thinking of me. And I said, do you remember what you said last night? And he goes, you know, Sebastian, I don't remember what I said, but I'm pretty sure that, you know, we should like hang out again. And I don't promise anything. Just like very kind of like cold. And I was like, you know what? I think I'm good. I said, I think I'm good. I said, you know what? I have a pretty cool guy right now. And you know what? If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And that's exactly what he told me the night before. If it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And you know what? I never heard from him again. I never texted him again. He never texted me again. I did see him a couple times from afar. One time we just said hello very casually. But that's it. And, you know, looking back, I do have to say, like, I think the mistake I made was I made this version of myself that was not real. And I made this version of myself that kind of appealed to him. But I feel like if he would have maybe known the truth about me, like I'm a struggling 21-year-old trying to make it, and you know, but I do really like you kind of thing, I think he would have maybe seen another side of me, and I think he could have maybe appreciated that side. So I guess more of the story is always be yourself. Always be yourself and never pretend to be anyone else, because you know what? It will never work out for you at the end. So, anyways, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this little story time. I haven't thought about him in forever, but just I saw a Sex and the City clip and I was like, oh my God, I should tell this story. But yeah, anyways, you know what? There's nothing wrong with making romantic gestures. There's nothing wrong with telling someone how you feel, but I just think it's very important to be yourself. Always try and be yourself and never pretend to be anyone else, because you know what? We're not that good of actors. And if you don't have like, you're saying like you're rich and you don't have like things to show for it, or whatever lies you're saying, it's just not worth it. So always be yourself, because you know what? You are good enough, okay? You are great enough. You are amazing enough. So I love you all so much. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this story time. If you want more story times, let me know in the comments below. And I hope you have a beautiful day.